Mega Size RX-78F00.
I love you, Daddy.
Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we have the biggest Gundam in my collection, the 1/48th scale RX-78F00 from Bandai. I got this kit when I was at the Yokohoma Gundam factory during my trip in Japan, and I do believe it is an exclusive there. It was the most expensive thing there, costing me 12,700 yen before taxes. I wasn't planning to get it, but my fiance egged me on, so in the end I got it. And I gotta say, I don't regret it. It's a very nice piece, super eye-catching with that size, and a very good souvenir acting as a reminder of my trip. And if you didn't know, the Gundam factory at Yokohama is closing in 2024. I'm not sure if they're going to keep producing these kits, so if you do happen to go, you might want to get one of these Gundams to add to your collection, because like I said, I'm not sure if they're going to keep making this, or they're going to move it to another location, or they're going to replace the Gundam. Now as for the Gundam itself, it's a pretty much 1/148th scale representation of the giant thing you see over there at the Yokohama Gundam base. And yes, this is even bigger than perfect grades. Unfortunately, the box was so big I could not have possibly fit in my suitcase even if I was to flatten it, thus resulting me filming the box in the hotel. Which is unfortunate because the box art looks so good. A beautiful illustration of the Yokohama Gundam. On the side of the box is pretty much the advertisement of the Yokohama Gundam factory. We got the Gundam itself in a neutral pose, images showing the colored part separation, and the lineup what you could buy at that store. On the side of the box we got an image showing the LED function, another extra extended neck gimmick, and a variety of poses that the Gundam has, and a lot of images showing the detailed appearance of the Gundam. And if you guys hate stickers, well, have fun, there's a lot of stickers on this kit. Now let's take a look at the kit itself. Here's the 1/48th scale Mega Size RX-78F00. And it is so big I'm going to have to zoom out because my setup cannot encompass a kit this big. As for build, you might be surprised, but it was actually quite easy. You may think that because it's such a large kit, there's going to be a lot of pieces to it. But keep in mind this isn't perfect grade quality, a lot of the pieces are just big pieces, thus making it pretty easy to assemble. There were some bad number marks, mostly on the colored pieces, but if you're not actively looking for them, they're difficult to see. In contrast, the white and gray plastic are pretty soft, not in the sense they're brittle, just that they're easy to cut out, which leaves minimal nub marks. Throughout the build, nothing was difficult whatsoever to point out. The build actually feels like a giant high grade. And that's not a knock on high grades, they're very beautiful and they're easy to build, just like this kit, so I highly recommend it for beginners. You're also given an option whether you want clear orange or clear green for your eye lens. And because my bus model already has clear orange, I decided to use clear green for this one. And after finishing the build, there are some structural issues I want to address. Though the kit is not a hand grenade, there are some loose pieces such as the arms over here nearby the elbow, which does tend to pop off quite a bit whenever you move it. In addition, these dark gray pieces on the corner of the torso are kind of loose and can fall off pretty easily, so watch out how you hold the kit. And because they're kind of small, you might not even notice that it fell off. I actually had this happen in my review and I didn't notice until after I finished filming. Keep an eye out on these pieces. And though the kit is sturdy enough where it could stand up and hold its own weight, anything regarding holding one leg up is not going to be possible. The leg is too heavy for the joint to hold up. Yeah, the weak joints is going to limit a lot of posing. And once you finish the build, you are left over with a lot of parts. The reason for this is the torso for this kit and the bust model are almost essentially the same. Those extra pieces are just pretty much the arms for the bust model, which if you saw my review for the bust model, aren't able to move at all. Technically, you are able to still attach it onto the full body kit, but realistically you're not going to do that, so you can throw away these runners. Even the manual says you don't need them. And once you're finished the build, you're left with this beautiful kit, which I gotta point out definitely needs to be panel lined. I used a fine tip black panel lining marker, and due to the size of the kit, there wasn't too many small intricate places to panel line. There were, however, just large streaks of panel lining opportunities. Pretty low effort thing to do, but it makes your kit pop out. Now in contrast, if you want to put extra work on this kit, there are stickers. A lot of stickers. Oh my goodness. There are so many stickers. And the manual doesn't really do it justice, because keep in mind you gotta do the outside of the limb, inside of the limb, and the other limb. Panel lining was super easy. This, not so much. But there's no denying, in the end, these stickers add a lot of detail to the kit. I do find they adhere very well, but because they're stickers, they do have borders, so on dark pieces you can see the borders clearly if you zoom in. But from a foot away, you're not gonna be able to see it. While on the brighter colors, the sticker border are barely noticeable. And well, though I don't like stickers, I feel like this kit needs it. It's too bad Bandai didn't put water slides. And yes, if you're wondering, you can attach the bust model onto this kit. As for colors, I do want to point out, unlike the bust model I reviewed, the full RX-78 doesn't have a lot of glossy parts. And here they are side by side if you want to compare. I prefer this color over the high gloss personally, And overall, I absolutely love the appearance of the kit. The two-tone colors for blues and grays are very nice. There's also a great amount of colored part separation, panel lining, and stickers are a must for this kit, all of which are much more noticeable being such a big size. So if the size doesn't catch your attention, the appearance will. Wait, the size is part of the appearance. What the hell am I talking about? Regardless, it looks absolutely awesome. But being a kit this size, how much of that affects the articulation? Let's take a look. Well, this is the largest kit I own, and to make it easier for me and to keep everything within frame, I'm going to have to bisect him. It's also a good idea to do so because of the sheer weight of this kit. The legs are heavy enough where it could detach itself if it's not supported. Starting with the head, it is able to tilt side to side quite a bit because it is on a ball joint. It's also got a really good range of motion looking up and down. And unfortunately the neck is one solid piece, so there's no movement here. And I'm not counting that wiggle as a movement. We got a full 360 rotation. And though not overly loose, doing this can pop off the head. Moving to the arms, the shoulder pauldrons are able to wiggle up and down ever so slightly. Abduction of the arm isn't that great. We have an okay range of motion for the internal-external shoulder rotation. Very easy 360 rotation of the arm. Though the upper bicep cannot rotate, you are able to rotate the joint near the elbow. And like I said earlier, if you're playing around with the arm, it's gonna fall off. Moving along, the elbow bend isn't that great, barely 90 degrees. Not the worst, but I kinda wish it was better. Now onto my favorite part, the hands, which are on a ball joint, allowing it to 360 rotate and also bend at the wrist, with pretty decent range of motion. Now moving on to the best part, just had to actually remove the hands itself. You can see that the fingers are actually multi-jointed, similar to our human hands, as expected from a kit this large. If they didn't have this, I would be highly disappointed. And as you can see, the fingers have a huge amount of mobility and movement. They're very fun to manipulate and play around with an added positive point, none of the fingers have ever fallen off. Now we go from the most articulate part to the most stiff thing ever. The torso, which is pretty much one big brick. There is no movement here whatsoever. No side bend, no ab crunch, no back extension. I wish the cockpit opened, but unfortunately it doesn't. Now coming to the back, the only thing that moves are the beam saber handles, which are able to move side to side, and they're removable. And unfortunately, there's no beam saber effect parts that come with the kit. Alrighty, let's move on to the skirts. The front skirt is able to flip up and down. It's attached on with a ball joint, allowing some wiggle room. As for the side skirts, they can also move up and down, but not as much as the front. And you know it's going to hinder the hip mobility. Coming to the back skirts, they function very similar to the front, able to move up and down and wiggle around. Now for splits, it would be able to do it pretty well if not for the side skirts, limiting the range of motion like I said earlier. Not a perfect split, but still pretty good. Coming to the legs, the upper part of the leg is able to 360 rotate without any issues, and you can feel the ratchet joint very well doing this. And while we're here, I'm gonna bring your attention to the moving sliding part right over here on the back of the leg. Nice little cool gimmick, too bad the rest of the kit doesn't have that. And let's zoom out to see this better. The leg is able to be kicked up this high, which is pretty good. And we got this much of a back kick. Pretty decent as well. As for the knees, it's able to bend this much. Unfortunately, this is not a double jointed knee, but it still bends over 90 degrees. Now coming on to the feet, the ankles are able to move side to side. This ankle armor could flip up and down quite a bit. The ankle can also rotate, but can't do a full 360. We also got this much of toe point and dorsiflexion. And lastly, the toes can point up and down. Overall, the articulation was a little bit disappointing. I expected more, but to make it clear, the articulation isn't horrible. I believe it just could have been better. You can still pull off a variety of poses, and at least the fingers are fun to play with. But do you know what's even more disappointing? Its lack of extras and accessories. So firstly, we got the display base. It's pretty much the same one as you get on the bust model. There's surface level detail on it. You do get a large sticker that you can put in the front, and it just kind of stands on top of it. Doesn't really attach at any point. Yeah, just for display purposes. And like the bust model, we also have an extension neck piece which sits under the neck. And here it is without the extension, which kind of looks weird. And here it is with the extension, which looks much more properly proportioned. Additionally, we get an alternative neck piece, which I do like the appearance of, but due to the design, it does restrict a lot of movement on the neck. I guess this is why the manual says for display focused. Lastly, we have an LED function. The kit has an LED light, but no batteries included, of course. And the battery needed is the LR41. Just pop off the head of the Gundam like I did and just slide in the LED. And remember to test it before you close up everything. And only in complete darkness can you see the light, otherwise the LEDs aren't that bright at all. And personally, I'm not a fan of LED gimmicks anyways. Look, the light up gimmick is very cool, but it's disappointing that a kit this size does not come with any weapons. Not even a beam saber, man. It has beam saber handles, but no beam saber. And you have such articulate hands. No weapons to hold them! Ugh, at least it's pretty. Let's move on to the shake test. Remember, I do this so you don't have to, and also to see how structurally rigid it is if you were to shake it. In the grand scheme of things, it did pretty well. I already knew the arms were falling off. The head coming off was a little bit unexpected, but in the end, it still held up pretty well. You might be asking, could I have shaken it more violently? Of course I could have. But remember, I'm not trying to destroy it, just trying to see if there's any loose pieces. To summarize this test, body stayed intact, head and arms didn't, and one beam saber. Overall, not that bad. And if you're wondering how tall this kit is, it's around 15 inches or 38 centimeters, give or take, with an arm span of 12.5 inches, roughly 31.75 centimeters. As for size comparison, here it is next to its 1:100 scale counterpart, and here it is next to a relatively small Zoid, the high-end master model Rev Raptor. Then we got the entry grade RX-78, and the largest Zoid I have, the high-end master model Gojulus. Though that mega sized Gundam is taller, the Gojulus is definitely heavier. And of course we got Haro, Doraemon, DK, and the Full Mechanics Forbidden Gundam. I'm using the box as a reference for size. Yeah, the F00 is actually taller than the box. Now you may be wondering, can it fit in a D12? Well, you'll be happy to know the height between each shelf is 15 inches and 3/4, meaning this mega sized Gundam fits perfectly in there. And of course, for a kit this big, it's got pretty good shelf presence. And that concludes my review of the 1/48 scale mega size RX-78F00 Gundam. What are my final thoughts? I'm gonna lay out the negatives first. The arm falling off, though easy to fix, does get annoying. The joints aren't as nearly as strong as they should be considering the weight of this kit. Though not terrible, articulation could definitely been better. And these small black pieces do fall off, so that's kinda annoying too. And lastly, I wish they gave us more extras and accessories. I'm not a fan of LEDs, wish we got weapons instead. Especially when you compare it to the 1/100 scale, which gave us a bunch of extra goodies. Now for positives, though I really don't like stickers, they still look very good for this kit. Appearance wise, I think it looks absolutely amazing, definitely its strongest aspect. And I gotta say, for 12,700 yen, I think this is actually a pretty good deal. Considering the sheer size of this kit, it's a really good looking piece, great for your display. Although it does have some small loose pieces, it's still pretty rigid, and surprisingly enough, it was very easy to build. I would actually recommend it for beginners, just don't be intimidated by the size. And of course, it's a really good piece if you're buying it to remember the good trip to Japan. Like I mentioned before, the Gundam factory at Yokohama is closing down, so I'm not entirely sure if they're going to keep making this. I would think they would move it somewhere else because they put so much time to actually make a giant 1:1 scale Gundam. Regardless, I still think it's a really cool piece to add to your collection. But of course, all of this is subjective. Thanks for watching my video, I hope you like it, I enjoy making it. I for one am very happy that I got this kit. What are your thoughts on this kit? Would you want one? Are you planning to get one? Or are Mega Gundams just too big for you? Or perhaps the price is too expensive still? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Bye.